All right, so we're live. This is the With, Where, and Who podcast, the very first episode with Cardiac Hef. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you, man.
For sure.
You're welcome. Yeah, absolutely. So first things first, since there are three of y'all, just state your name and what you do in the band, and we'll go from there.
Cool. Okay. I'm Drew, and I'm the front man. I play keys too. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Dylan. I'm the bass player and sing background.
Nice. I'm Chris. I'm the lead guitar player.
All right, awesome. So that's very quick, fast, and easy. So I know that y'all formed early in the summer of 2016, and your name is like, cause the first time I ever heard of you, I was like literally scrolling through the Masquerade's website, like seeing what concerts were going on.
Yeah.
And I was like saying like, oh, what band should I listen to too? Cause like that's honestly like one of the best ways I discovered music. And so I saw your name, listened to your music, and I was like, these guys are dope. I want them on the podcast. But one of the things that did stick out to me was the name. So how did the name form originally?
Yeah. So actually, funny story. I was sitting in church and I wasn't listening to the sermon, and I was trying to figure out what a band name would be. And dude, I have the hardest times. Like naming a song is easy, but naming a band is impossible. So Dylan here has a heart condition, and that's where we get the cardiac. And then I can't hear out of one of my ears, so like half of my hearing. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Does
that's
that
cardiac
affect like going to concerts at all, or do you?
No,
like...
I was just born this way, and
Oh,
the
wow.
bones are fused together, and I can't hear. Yeah, so
Awesome. So like going to concerts, like knowing those like venues in Atlanta, like Missile Pub and the Masquerade, like was it ever like the dream for you to play those places, or it just like happened to be that you played those places?
Well, I mean,
Like when you were like younger, like did you think like, oh, I would want to play there?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, especially with the Masquerade. I mean, you had the old location, and a band I was in high school played there, but I was like, man, like my band is gonna play there. And we never got to play there at that one. But then when they switched locations and we got offered to play the first show there, I was like, that's the dream. We've done the Hell stage, we've done the Purgatory stage. Our next goal is to hit the Heaven stage. It's whatever that takes. So it's definitely been a childhood dream to, going to shows at the Masquerade was a big part of our high school days, and now we're getting to play there. So it's pretty cool, really.
That's so funny. Like if you're in Atlanta or from the Georgia area, it's people would ask if you're a band too or a solo artist, people would ask you, oh, where do you dream of playing? And if you think of anywhere outside, like someone in New York or LA would say, oh, I want to play Madison Square Garden, I want to play the Forum. But when you're in Atlanta, it's like, no, I want to play the Masquerade. Like any place in the world, it could be like 200 people. I want to play the Masquerade.
Oh yeah,
like,
you're right. It's awesome, man.
Even like I don't even play music, but like I was a musician, I'd be like, I want to play to like 100 people in Purgatory or like 1,000 in Heaven.
It's the dream,
dude. It's awesome, man. Every time we play at the Masquerade, like people turn out, and we just have I don't know, man. It's an intimate thing because it's hometown, but yet it's awesome. It's like you're on this epic stage, I guess.
I would argue that it's actually like one of the best music venues like in the United States.
Yeah,
you're not gonna get an argument from me, man. I gotta agree.
It's top notch.
Like I would say, like if people like if Washington D.C. has the 930 Club, then like Atlanta would have the Masquerade. Like it's like even as an audience member, it feels so awesome. Like, it's great.
For sure. Well, everything that they do there, the guys who book the venue, the guys who run sound, the sound techs, the guys who help us load in, all of them are just like the most professional guys, the nicest guys ever. So they're very real, and so that just makes playing there like even more of a dream, really, because they're so chill.
That's really what I've heard though, because I went to a show there. I went to see this band called Looming, I think last year. And the opening act was just like, thank you to the production people of the Masquerade, because they did say like it really does feel like home. Like it really feels like you're like at Wembley Stadium, or you're at the Forum, or you're at State Farm Arena or somewhere big, because the people there are so professional.
Yeah.
So like within your career as well, you've gotten to like be inspired by bands like Brilliant K and Green Day, and then like, open for bands that you looked up to, like Emery. So when you're starting out and you open for a band like that and you're playing in front of the amount of people you never thought you'd play in front of. Like, what's that like? Just like first reaction gut.
Chills.
Yeah.
I listened to Emery so much when I was in high school, and I never in a million years even had the idea that I would be opening up for them one day. And then, I got the text message from Dylan that basically said, "Guys, there's a chance for us to open up for Emery. Play hard." And in the back of my mind, I was like, maybe we could do this. But in reality, it was just like, nah, there's no way that we're going to be able to do it. And then sure enough, we were one of the bands that was picked to do it. And it still kind of hasn't hit home that like we opened up for them, but it was an incredible experience.
It was early on too in our career. So like, I mean, I remember how long we had been a band at that point, but
a year.
Yeah, just a year, I think. So
it was pretty cool way to start.
Scared of like how people would perceive you that never saw you before?
Oh, that's always a fear, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, especially like Emery's a little bit more like hard rock than us. Where at the time we were pretty like pop punk and like happy-go-lucky, and so like I don't know, I was pretty scared. Like, man, these guys are gonna throw it.
The comic relief for the night on that ticket, but it was fun.
Yeah. So it's like that's a crazy thing for me too, because like I've been at shows where I've seen opening bands, and some of them like are really good, and then it's for like the handful of shows I've seen. I've been to the Masquerade, I've been to the Tabernacle, I've been pretty much to almost every music venue in Atlanta and Georgia as a whole. And there was only one time that I'm not gonna say the band, but there was only one time where an opening band wasn't good, but it wasn't even like the music, which is really weird to me. So like, it was actually a Sum 41 concert. Yeah, it was insane. Like if they ever come to, have y'all ever seen them before live?
Not live, no, but I listen to them all the time.
They are the most like insane live band. Like they are like underrated in a live band, in my opinion. Like because people like would always talk up like, oh, Green Day is like an amazing live band. Like Billy Joe knows how to work a crowd. Like Derek Weebly like works in a crowd in an insane way. But I was at the show and there was this one band that was performing, and they were like the first ones to open. And so normally like you have people like bobbing their head and trying to get into it. And I think and like everyone was fine. It wasn't like the best music to cooperate with Sum 41, but the lead singer said a comment saying, "Oh, I know we're the opening band, but y'all still gotta bob your heads." And then that's like there wasn't even like a boo; it was just like silence.
Oh man,
yeah,
kind of awesome.
Have y'all like had experiences like that at all, or has it just been like kind of steady? Like, or is there just kind of like ebb and flow?
That's a tough question. I mean,
I guess a lot of it's just like if we're the opening band, like we get to open for really cool bands all the time, different local guys, and it's guys that we respect and listen to, and it's always like just a fear of, well, what if my stuff isn't received as well? But really it's just you have to have the confidence of, hey, like this is my craft. I'm not just someone who's going to get up here without preparing. We've prepared for this. This is what we do. So we're going to be ourselves no matter what. And so it's really just that when the confidence is there, then the ebb and flow kind of happens because we do believe in what we're doing. So,
So like growing up and listening to like Relly K and Green Day, did you ever have a band, and knowing all these bands, do you have any band that you dream of opening up for?
Oh,
for sure.
Like, okay, it sounds so
many.
It sounds like everyone has an answer. Why don't we go through like each member and like have their answers shared?
Just think, Chris.
Oh man, I have to pick first. I'm gonna do my top three, I guess, and like not necessarily top three favorite bands or musicians, but top three I want to open up for. Number one, 21 Pilots, for sure.
Yeah.
Number two, dude, I'd like to open up for Post Malone.
Really?
That would be sick.
Man.
That would be sick.
That'd be dope.
And then number three, I would love to open up for Cruiser.
Yeah, that'd
That would
cool,
be
man.
really cool.
Cruise is pretty tight.
Yeah. I'd say there's a band called Knox Hamilton. We kind of stylistically we respect what they do, and they influence us in that regard. I'd say 21 Pilots as well. Those guys are fantastic. Live show, everything.
That's what I've heard like all the time from them.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'd say Imagine Dragons.
Oh yeah.
You know, maybe even the halftime show for the national championship, something like that.
Who knows?
I wouldn't complain. Yeah.
Well, since these guys stole most of mine, I just got one. Colony House is a pretty
Oh man.
Yeah.
pretty incredible band live, and it's two brothers in the band as well. Both have the CH names, Cardiac Half, Colony House. So to me, that's the dream,
It's a
because
no-brainer.
their stage presence, their everything that they do live is just insane.
incredible.
So if you haven't listened to Colony House, man, you gotta check them out. It's pretty cool.
You know what's funny is that someone mentioned them like literally yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, only because like I was at the station and we were talking to like bands we might want to have on and like on the station and like have
Oh,
their
yeah.
music played. And it wasn't even about, I think someone like mentioned their name and then someone else was like listening to them in the corner. And then
Yeah.
now that you're talking about it, it's like, is this supposed to like happen like right now?
It needs to happen, man.
I mean,
Get
maybe
them on,
after that
bro.
happens, then you'll open for them. Who knows?
Oh,
Hey,
Who
man.
knows, man?
Connected.
Please.
Yeah. So if you open for them in the future, just thank me later.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll do
absolutely.
Well, first, thank you.
Of course. So with your music, there have been a lot of stylistic elements and changes as well. So for example, with the Let's Be Real Here, the 5-song EP.
Yeah.
That's basically, if I was listening to that, like not even knowing who you were, I would think like, oh, this is like a pop punk band.
Yeah.
And then you would go into your later releases, Slow the Fall, Work in Progress, which have the same thematic themes as your previous songs do have, but the actual stylistic shift of it does change, and musical shift of it does change. When you went into that stylistic shift, were you inspired by any bands of doing it, or did you just decide, like, as a band yourselves, like, this is what we want to do?
Kind of both of those.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. I mean, when we started, pop punk is literally what we listened to middle, high school, college. Like, I got made fun of at my school because I was the pop punk guy, I think. And so I loved it. I still love it. And so that definitely inspired, those the first 2 years of us being a band plus the EP. So then I guess the shift kind of happened when we were like, hey, what do we want from the band? Do we want to, play these venues? Like, absolutely. Do we want to play like for a couple people, or do we want to try and hit a market of something that's unique, but yet people are digging? So that's when we kind of started really listening to a bunch of different pop influences, different, like the bands that we mentioned earlier, Cruiser, Knox Hamilton. Those guys are very like synth heavy and just groove central. And so
Yeah.
we kind of listened to those guys a good bit as we've kind of shifted. Plus, 21 Pilots and even 5 Seconds of Summer has been a pretty big influence lately. So that's kind of inspired this shift. Is just, what do we want to achieve? And we don't want to sell out on who we are, but how can we do what we do and make it better? So
Yeah, and on that note, like honestly, like so the first song that we had recorded was Megan Kelly. That was like our first one.
I
And
really
that
love
wasn't
song, by the
even-
way. That's probably
Dude.
my favorite one.
Thank you, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Of course.
Yeah, it's super fun. It's super fun to play live. We actually just retired it a few months back. But yeah, so honestly, I kind of did that one on my own. And then before Cardiac Half was even a thought. And then just the advice that we were given as a band was like, hey, so you've already kind of invested in this, like this route. So why don't you just stick with it for a while and see what happens? And it was like, like Dylan said, the pop punk thing growing up, like I have a lot of respect for it and I love it still. And, but I was ready for a change even when we started in that direction. So we just kind of played it out until we felt like it wasn't, what we wanted anymore. And here we are, very synth heavy now and poppy. So
What's your opinion on people who think that when a band changes their sound to not go more mainstream, I would say, but like try to like change it in a way that it sounds mainstream. What's your opinion when you first hear that? And then a fan would say, "Oh, like they're doing that. I don't agree with that."
Yeah, I'll take this one. It was cool. I was thinking about that earlier actually, and I don't know, man. I don't. It doesn't really bother me. I think everybody's got like a journey, a musical journey that they take. Some people stick with the same style from when they start, 15, 20 years down the road, and they're still doing it. Like I think that that's great. Other people, like myself, I just like to dabble in all kinds of things and improve myself and give myself a challenge of, hey, I've been writing this way for so long. What if I try writing a different way? So I respect people that do that, artists that do that. I think there's nothing wrong with it personally. But
yeah, it's so funny because like when I was like growing up, I was always the kid who was like really into like Metallica. I don't know,
Yeah.
Metallica, like Green Day, and like Led Zeppelin, Queen, stuff like that. And I was always just thinking like in my head, like, oh, like this Metallica song in the '90s sucks. They changed their sound, blah 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 blah. This Green Day like later album after Dookie is trash, they changed their sound. And I was like thinking like now as I look back at it, I'm like, this doesn't make an artist bad. This makes them more musically interesting. Like,
yeah, for sure.
in my opinion, like I think an artist is like still great like when their first album comes out, but
Sure.
they get musically interesting. And if it's an older artist, like I really like want to delve deep into their discography and discover things that came out with later, because it not only tells a story, in my opinion, like within their music, but also like within in their life and the societal context that go with it as well. So
That's a good
For
point.
sure.
I grew up a lot from what I thought when I was in middle school. Is what I'm saying. Short.
Didn't we all, man? Haven't we all?
Yeah. Well, I mean, y'all are still in pop punk though, so like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
we went to Warped Tour over the summer, which was the last one, and
Rip.
rest in peace, Warped. And like, I mean, we were handing out CDs of our new stuff, and just to see what kind of responses we would get. But we were listening to all of our childhood favorites there, and so yeah, like I'm all about it. Like,
isn't that crazy though? Like in a way, like from these bands that like for example, like Bowling for Soup, or like I don't know, like even now, like why am I suddenly blinking out on the name? All Time Low. I don't know why it took me a long time to think of All Time Low, but thinking now, like how when they performed that tour, like a little over 10 years ago, or even like 20 years ago, so like they're still performing it now. It's kind of insane because like there are people like kids there like 6 years younger than me, 10 years younger than me that are still listening to them.
Yeah.
And it really shows like how much influence that whole tour has.
Yeah.
This is kind of a stupid question, and you'll probably say yes to it, but if Warped Tour was still around, would that be another dream?
Oh yeah.
It still is.
Yeah, no
What
doubt.
attracts you to it the
On the
most?
hope, man.
It's gonna come. It's gonna come back, and
Yeah.
as soon as it does, we're gonna be on it somehow.
All right,
So,
I'm looking forward to that. But
Yeah.
for you on that, like for like Warped Tour, like if that was a possibility, like what attracts you to it, like other than the music itself?
to me, it's the constant touring, like the day in, day out, getting to play in however many cities. Like that's the dream, to do that with however many tours possible. So that's the thing for me.
Mm-hmm, for sure.
That, and I mean all the bands that you play with. I mean, like you're playing with guys that you would probably never ever go on tour with, and you're getting to meet them and do like, I mean, Yellow Card. They who was it? Matty
Mullins.
Yeah, that's right. Matty Mullins. They got him to come
Mullins.
sing on
Yeah,
on one of their records a couple years back, and they met through, I think it was Warped Tour. So like, it's crazy how that works,
I think that's partly how Avenged Sevenfold like got really popular, because the story was that they were always like the people on Warped Tour, but they were like always one of the smaller bands, and I forget which other band it was. I think it was like Disturbed or someone, but someone from Disturbed said this band's great, and so Avenged Sevenfold like began playing for Disturbed, and then they like rose in popularity to get a major record label, and the story unfolds from there.
For
So
sure.
it's always like one of those things for me where like a band like is always evolving in a way, like through social media and stuff like that. But like way back in the day, like bands actually had to work to get to where they are. Like not saying you don't work, obviously, but
sure.
every band like back then like has like literally like Metallica like toured like nonstop like for years on end.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, that's tough. I think it's tough to be a musician now, and it was really tough to be a musician then, because like even though the market is opened up, the social media world has really launched like, I mean, hundreds of artists that we would have never heard of otherwise. But like it's such a crowded area because there's so crowded market because there's so many artists trying to make it. So it's tough in a different way, and I think everybody's just trying to navigate the changes, as best we can. So
here's how I think of it. I think of it as like, as a band in the 21st century, it's a lot easier for you to get music out. It's a lot easier to share it. The hardest part is that a lot of people won't buy into it as fast as they would back then. Because back then there was only like one way. It's like you get signed to a major record label. That label has access to all these like vantage points where they can promote your music, whether it's way back in the day on a billboard, whether it's on TV, that Sullivan Show, Top of the Pops, and people watch those shows, and then that's how it would be done. Whereas now it's like, I don't even think like I pay attention to any of the bands that are on like late night anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you scroll through Instagram, man, you see like, I think about how easily bored I am like watching a video. If I'm not hooked by 3 seconds, I'm like, oh, scroll past it. No offense to them, like to what I'm watching, but it's like there's so much to see on social media that the hard part as an artist is what can I do to make it different to catch people's attention, because the market's flooded now with people who are doing exactly what we're trying to do. So
I feel like it's like the same way for like any medium though, like not just like pop punk, but like for anything. Because I know even for like for video games now, it's harder to like actually get something out. So it's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
When you were like starting social media though, was there any like go-to social media you're like, we have to be on there first before anything else?
Why don't you take this one?
Yeah, I mean, to me, we try and do them all. You know, there's a couple that suffer. If you follow us on Twitter, I'm super sorry. Like, I haven't tweeted anything in like a hot minute.
We're not going anywhere on Twitter. Like,
Yeah.
You're not following us anywhere. We're just
So I mean, for me, a lot of it was because where I was at the time is Instagram is what I see as the biggest tool for people who are our age and who we're trying to reach, that target market. Is they're on Instagram and they're finding bands and music through that. I mean, so really that's a pretty big one. I mean, we still do Facebook. That's not going anywhere. Our parents still share everything on Facebook, so we're getting their listeners and their age group to dig it. But I mean, as far as what we're trying to do, Instagram is a pretty big one. And then if you want to consider like the digital music platform, to me it's Spotify. That's the one that we've tried to push from day one, and we're still trying to, because that's the most accessible in my opinion.
Yeah.
So mainly Instagram and Spotify. Trying to get our YouTube up to date, so we might hit you up for some tips, some tips later. But
yeah, that's the thing for me. Like starting this was that I knew, because I've had experience with like social media marketing in the past. With the station. So for 88 Sessions, we have, and I'll follow you by the way on there, but we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, and we have a Twitter, and the following number is just so vast. So like Facebook is like, I think last time I checked it was about 80 something, maybe less than that.
Yeah.
Instagram's like a little over 150, and then Twitter's like 3. So the numbers are, it's crazy too, because like we'll share all this stuff. We'll say like, here's the new video, here's the new this, here's our social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. And there's always like an ebb and flow with Facebook and not Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, but Twitter is always that one that's just remaining like 3.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, I guess, and we haven't posted anything there since.
Yeah.
You know, I let it die for a while, but a couple people I've been hanging out with lately, they're like, they use Twitter a whole lot, and they're like, it's still a very dominant media, so you have to use it. So I'm like, okay, sorry, I'll get better. With Twitter, I think it's just more consistent posting, just kind of nonstop. Like, I don't think that people care about what I have to say, but I just have to tweet whatever comes to my mind all day, every day. So I don't know.
I guess my biggest thing about Twitter is like you have X amount of characters, right? I don't know what it is off the top of my
That's
head.
the one I think that I don't like that because like
You know?
because I'll share stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram and post like the same like message on there, but I have to edit it back because it's so short.
Yeah.
Right.
It's too long.
Yeah, and I'm just figuring out what all these like, you know, abbreviations for things are still. So, you know.
Well, and this guy just got an Instagram about like 2 months ago, maybe. Or
No,
maybe
it was about 6 months ago. And honestly, man, like Dylan runs all of our social media, and I'll get on occasion and like, you know, maybe share something or like communicate with people that have liked or shared our stuff. But other than that, Dylan really kind of heads up that on all fronts. So
I really kind of handle Drew's personal Instagram too.
You know what's so funny? I was talking to a friend, and as far as like handling things go, I was talking to a friend, and I see her registering for classes like for like spring, and I'm like, why are you doing this now? And she was like, oh, I'm not doing this for me, it's for my boyfriend. I'm like, your boyfriend is a 21-year-old man who can't register for a class. Like,
that's
so
true.
that was just funny. Like,
Yeah,
people are more net nowadays if you think about it.
No, I don't know, man. It's not my strong suit by any means. So I passed college though.
Yeah, that's all you need.
I passed the classes in college, whatever. You know?
But I think that's true though. Like in a way that people are becoming like more inept, like with like because I remember my mom like, how do you work this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just like, and because I've seen like the commercials where you like ask it to do stuff, but I'm like, how do you power it off? Like, how do you know when it's like dying, stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I still haven't figured it out.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
yeah,
You will one day.
yeah, right. One of these days.
Do you think so like what were some of those tactics that you used like within social media to actually like gauge your audience better? Because like from what you sound like, you're like from what you said, you sounded like you really were like keen on like getting social media on the ball and rolling.
Yeah, man. A lot of it I think is just honesty. A band I really like just recently, you know, asked all their fans via Instagram story, like, hey, what kind of content do you want to see from our page? You know, because that way those people answered and they're going to, you know, whatever the followers want, they're going to give more to them, you know? So, and then, I mean, other than that, a lot of it, in my opinion, is like trial and error. Like there's been some stories that I've posted that like have like been garbage, and then some that people really engage with. And so it's just a lot of that trial and error and seeing what people want. And then, you know, not getting upset if something doesn't work, but just like moving on and noting that, hey, that didn't work. Let me try it this way, or let me do this. Just a lot of moving on and figuring out what works.
Well, and this is what we've heard too, you know, from people that are in the know, I guess you could say. They're like, hey, the two biggest things are consistency and just content. Like whether it's the best content Facebook has ever seen or not, like put it out there because it's content. And if you're consistently putting stuff out, I don't know, apparently that helps.
It does.
Yes,
It's a whole math behind it. Like I think it's called just keep documenting, and it's just
Right.
keep documenting like everything you're doing. Because like if one post doesn't work, like at 1 second, then the next second it is gonna work. So there's a whole like philosophy and math behind it. I've learned that the same way, like through trial and error. But going back into your music just for a bit,
Yeah.
performing live shows, what's the best part about doing that? 2 years as a band, and then what's one of the things that's the worst part about it in a way?
Why don't you say the best? I got the worst.
I'll just sit here.
Devin, you want to say something, Chris?
You go first. I'll go second.
I don't know, man. I think the best thing is just being in front of new people, maybe that have not that have not heard you before, and then people that have heard you, and just kind of, I don't know, trying to find a way to do different things to keep people coming back to shows. And it's fun. And honestly, just performing, anytime performing anything, like it's just a blast. Nothing else like it. So,
Yeah.
What about you?
I mean, my most favorite part about performing at shows is the moments right after you sound check. And you've prepared for it, and you're ready, and you're just chilling out in the green room, or you're walking backstage or whatever, and it's just that build up of excitement. That's just, man, I'm about to walk on stage and I'm about to play in front of people, and I am gonna absolutely kill it. I'm gonna give everything that I can to this. And for me, I feel like that's like what I'm meant to do. Like I feel at home on the stage. I feel like I need to be there. So that's what I think is the best thing about performing, for sure.
Yeah.
For me, the worst part of it is
You don't have a best? You
well, I
just
mean,
go
I
straight to the-
definitely have a best, but they heard the best.
That's true.
There's nothing better than playing live shows, man. Like it really is incredible. I think the not the worst part, but the most stressful part is that there's so many things that go into a show. I mean, especially if it's a show that we've set up, that I've planned. I've got the other bands on the bill. I've booked the venue. Like, there's so much that comes with it. Got to get all the details in place, and then so you bring that in, and then you have to. Then we have people who are coming to see us, and we don't ever want to be like standoffish and be like, hey, we're gonna chill backstage instead of seeing you people. So we're out there like 5 minutes till we go on stage, like interacting and seeing people who we love, family, friends, listeners, anyone, just saying, hey, thank you for being here. And so then to go from that, plus all the details of the day, and then to like having to switch in your brain to go to, okay, now I have to focus on what I'm about to do, to what Chris was talking about. It's really hard to make that switch. And I think for the first couple years of shows, it was like I left the end of the night going, there's got to be more than this. Like this is not what I want. And then lately, once I've noticed that I can turn that switch and I can focus on what I'm doing on stage and put all the rest behind me, then I walk away going, man, that's the dream. That's the dream right there. So it's a stressful thing, but when it all falls into place and when you can like shift your mindset, to me that also leads to being the best. So I don't know. It's pretty cool though. There's, like Drew said, there's nothing like it at all.
Yeah, it's like going back to Post Malone as one of the artists you want to talk about. I know like one of the first like things like people he opened up for was Justin Bieber, and I was just thinking like, yeah, like that's great, but like then I think in hindsight of like how much Post Malone's artistry differs from Justin Bieber. Like, could you imagine like that opening act? And I know like Post was talking about it too. He was saying like, yeah, I would just go out in places like in Canada, and I would go to like all these states I've never been to before, and I don't even know if I have fans there. And he would talk about like getting nervous about that, but like once he walked on stage, he said like those were some of the best shows he's ever done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like those like green room like goosebumps like you were talking about, like they happen.
Yeah, it's real.
Even if you're like the main act too.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. Especially.
Yeah. It's always like you get this adrenaline rush and then the anticipation's building up. But as soon as I get on stage, like that kind of turns into this magic, I guess. This magic potion to help me like get through a set and just do the best that I can. So, yeah.
That's where the magic
Yeah.
happens.
Where the magic happens.
Right on the stage. Masquerade stage, to be exact. So we talked about the Masquerade, but what's it like going from the Masquerade and also doing Smith's Bar, which is another legendary venue in Atlanta?
Yeah.
Like, what's the main difference between like going from the Masquerade, which has this rich like musical history with like people like Nirvana performing there and like Avenged Sevenfold even, to like going to Smith's Bar?
Well, even just walking into Smith's and seeing how many stickers of different bands are on the wall and or just there's Smiths itself has such a rich history, and it might be like a little more like grungy and not what some people want to be. But to me, it's like, I mean, it's a show and it's a historic venue. And so to me, it's like, there's no big difference. I mean, like what I said about the Masquerade guys, everyone involved at Smiths, they're top notch too. So to me, it's the same, and they're both incredible places to play. And that's where our next show is on January 27th.
I know. I was looking at that. I was actually going to promote that at the end, but for me, I'll do it again. I'll do it again. 2 times the charm. That's awesome.
I mean,
and you're
Smiths is great. The people are great there. Yeah.
And you're opening for that show, right? Not opening, but you're leading that show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So it'll be our first time headlining at Smith, so we're pretty stoked about that.
That's insane. Within 2 years almost 3 years of being a band right now.
Right, dude. It's
pretty
gosh,
amazing.
time's just flying.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun, man. I mean, the hardest thing about Smiths is when we drive our trailer, which we normally do. It is the hardest place to drive a trailer in and out of. I'm not the best person at driving a trailer in reverse, but it is the hardest place to get into. Even just with the car, it's hard enough.
Mhm.
But the load-in situation. Oh, and then like our first show at Smith's, we were in the upstairs room, and to load in, you have to walk up like basically 2 flights of metal stairs.
There's like no elevator at all.
No.
And
my
Drew
God.
had the heaviest keyboard case.
Bro, I had this
People
like
in the
Yamaha like motif thing from 1985 that weighed 85 pounds, and carrying it in a case like up those stairs, it was painful.
It's
And
gone now.
It's gone. We got
It's
rid of
gone
that.
forever.
We got rid of it.
So that's the only bad thing, but we make it work because it's worth it.
For sure.
I mean,
And I need to
it's
exercise.
like if I was in a band, because I have like friends who are also in bands, but like if I was there like wanting to play Smith's old bar, like and like a headlining show, I would carry an 85-pound case of whatever up the stairs.
Hey, dude, come
You're
help
like
me.
once you're going back down, it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally worth it.
yeah, absolutely.
It's the place that we've played most, Smith. So it's
That's
like
true.
Really.
to me, it's my favorite place to play because of
That
that.
was actually our. Did you say this?
Very
That was
first
our
show.
very first show. Was at Smith.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it definitely has a special place in our heart. So,
Mhm.
Yeah. The one thing I would say though, like about these venues, the Masquerade and like Smiths, and like even though they are like great venues on the inside, like the parking situation is just like
Yeah.
I mean, not so much at the new Masquerade. I mean, it's paid parking, but it's still organized. Because at the
Yeah.
old Masquerade, like their parking lot was just like the worst, but you still go to the concert, lining up for even at 741, like lining up for that concert, like it rained the night before, so there was just this huge puddle like on the ground that people were like stepping into, and so the workers at the Masquerade like put like just they put this like wooden board on there thinking it would like stop it, but it was out there for so long that the water just like seeped through there too. So
Oh,
it's bad. Yeah,
Hey,
I mean, but once you're inside though, like it's great and you forget all about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever like, had experiences like that, like going to a concert at all?
Oh,
how about this? Yeah, I think
Is this like another situation where I have to like ask each member? Like,
no,
I can do
No,
that.
well, so we were in Pennsylvania. Yeah, we were in Pennsylvania, and we were playing a show up there at a college, and so we're backing up. We don't have the trailer on at this point. Like we detached, and we were going out to get food before the show, and so Dylan's driving at this point, and I'm crammed in the middle of the Suburban. Chris is sitting shoddy or something like that, and Dylan goes, "Hey, Chris, can you get out, back me up?" And Chris is like, he like opens the car door and he's like, "Oh man, yeah, you're good." And Dylan's like, "No, dude, like you need to get out and like back me up so I don't hit anything." And Chris is like, "Oh man, I can see. You're fine. You're fine. Don't worry about it." Dude, next, all of a sudden we hear this crunch, bang.
Oh
And,
no.
and we all look at Chris, and Chris just has this "oh crap" moment on his face. And
I've never been more angry at this human being over here. than I was tonight.
So then I get out of the car and I go to the back, and apparently there were like these yellow concrete poles that are specifically designed for people like us to back into them so that we don't hit the side of the building, which we
I'm
clearly.
by the way, I'm totally visualizing all this in my mind because as soon as
Yeah.
you said yellow concrete pole, I'm like, oh, that.
You know what it is.
Yeah, I know exactly what it is.
And then, but the best part is that I get out of the car and I'm looking at Chris and he doesn't say a word to me. He doesn't go like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I'm the worst. You're the best person ever, Dylan. I'm so sorry about how terrible I am. He's silent. And like doesn't even have a look of anything on his face. He's just like mean mugging, like.
I think that's because he was scared out of his mind.
Well, what do you expect, man? I knew that you were gonna be like ridiculously mad. So if I say something, you're just gonna get more mad because I'm talking. So I just was quiet the whole time.
So point
Always out of fear.
Point is that was a hard thing of turning. But I think to answer more of your question of shows that we've been to, situations like that, anytime that we would go to a show at the Masquerade in Heaven, the old Masquerade.
Mm-hmm.
I think that everyone who's been there knows that floor in Heaven is like a trampoline.
There was a rumor back in my high school that all the floors in the Masquerade, the old one, were fine, except Heaven is supported by one pillar. That was the rumor.
It felt like it.
Yeah.
You know.
That's sketchy.
So I mean, but hey, just any time going to a show. I think at Warped Tour last summer it was raining the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
and so like we're drenched but like still just getting to be at a show is cool. So that's a pretty cool thing.
It really is. Like no matter like the weather, like the show is still fun. Like it's a memory. Like
Yeah,
For sure.
it doesn't like you'll remember the show more than you actually would remember the weather.
yeah,
True.
that's true. That's true.
Freaking.
Is there any? Is there any band that, if within the genre of pop punk, you would say is the best, and why?
Ooh, that's a
Throughout all the artists that you've named to listen to.
that is a loaded question.
I mean,
I know we don't play around with questions on this podcast.
man, all right. So I'm just gonna go straight at it and say Blink-182. I mean, I guess they'd be more straight punk, but I think that they set a standard for punk bands that no one else can beat. And so I'm gonna say Blink-182 is my answer. So
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't know, man. I'm always a Reliant K guy. So yeah.
Day to Remember, if they count.
Okay.
Yeah, they've transitioned their style, so
Yeah,
They're a little bit more on the post-hardcore side, but you know I think they're still close enough to pop punk to be considered pop punk.
they're kind of like the bridge between like the post-hardcore and the pop punk. Yeah,
Exactly.
kind of like a mix. For me, I would say just Sum 41.
yeah,
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
hard
Like
very-
for me, like I think like if I think of like a pop punk band, I think of like a band that's like has the element of pop punk, has retained that style all over. But like for me, Sum 41 just has great lyrics. They've always like get the job done. Whether like every album is something different, it's always interesting to listen to.
Sure.
And yeah, they may not be the most like influential as Green Day or Blink-182, but like for me, like I just think they're like they're like one of the best bands like that is so respectful of their fans, and they don't realize like how famous they are in a way.
which
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, like they still play the Masquerade. I'm like, I respect y'all for like keeping this humble brag about yourself, but like you could play a bigger place. Like
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
yeah. I forgot Mayday Parade. That's another one of my
yeah,
Child.
dude.
yeah. I
Yeah,
like Mayday Parade.
we could go on about pop punk bands we listen to all night, man. There's some good stuff.
Oh man, My Chemical Romance too, way back in the day.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely been a favorite of ours, and that's why like the OG songs of ours, we're proud of them because of what they represent to us. You know, we had our own spin on the pop punk sound, and now even though we're not a pop punk band anymore, like we still care about it, and so we're so proud of those songs that we've released. So,
Yeah. I mean, it was so funny because, well, not funny, but like when I was listening to Slow to Fall, one of your songs that you released this past year, great song, by the way, for anyone listening.
Appreciate it.
It had the same pop pop punk themes that are in a lot of pop punk songs, where it's like
Right.
different relationships ending, things starting differently, and it's like growth and regrowth pretty much.
Sure. Yeah.
But it sounds like just heavily synth and not pop punk at all in the context of instrumentals.
Well,
So
fun
it's-
story about Slow the Fall. I actually wrote
That you
that
mentioned
song.
it, yeah.
I wrote that song in college. And originally song was like straight punk rock,
Really?
think your most nasally pop punk voice, Tom DeLonge, whoever.
I was doing the same thing. Like as soon as I heard nasal, I was like Tom.
And,
Yeah.
and the lyrics were completely different. Like it was about a breakup that I had just gone through, and so it was basically like it was as pop punk as you can get. And so, as with a couple of songs that I've written, I pitched them to Drew, and he goes, "Yeah, man, that's pretty garbage. Let me have my spin on it." And then so that it was kind of reworked to the lyrics it is now, and the whole song was really reworked. But
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't straight garbage. Don't make me out to be a bad guy, but it was pretty good. I just he has a lot of great ideas, and I'm like, hey, dude, let's do something with that. Like that, let's take this in a different direction that maybe you didn't think of before. So I wanted to write it from a female perspective, and
Yeah, and if you think, I don't know if you've ever listened to 5 Seconds of Summer, but their first however many years as a band, they were a pop punk group, boy band, however you want to say it. And then the last song the last album they released, Youngblood or whatever it's called, kind of similar, whereas the lyrics kind of have a similar vibe and a similar theme of whether it's a breakup or a love song or whatever, but it's got that pop spin on it. And it's to me, that's perfect because it's still their roots. It's still who they are, but it's a whole new sound that no one else has really achieved yet. And to me, that's what I want to do personally, like that. So
that's how I feel a lot about Green Day too. Because like Green Day to me, they're a pop punk band, but they're honestly within the next 20 years they'll be considered a classic rock band.
Yeah.
With all their discography and then what they put out. And I think they're one of those bands that has made music that has been integral to what they've been doing back in California and that whole scene. But then they've transitioned over within their fame to and within their success to make something that still is representative of that, but it's much mature in a way, because it's Long View is just all about masturbation, and then American Idiot is just one of the best political anthems of the 2000s pretty much. So it's really crazy to see how things shift over. Do you think within your career, within the next 10, 15 years that your writing would stay the same, or do you think you would transition depending on your life?
Oh man, that's hard.
I don't know. I think the writing will definitely change as different perspectives happen. We're not going to be unmarried guys forever, I hope. And so Drew's days of writing breakup songs, they'll probably come to a close when he marries Mrs. Miller or whoever. And so I think that as life changes, that perspective is going to change, obviously.
For sure.
So
yeah, I mean, I feel even same thing with Green Day, it is the same thing like that. But, and I don't mean to hate on Blink-182 right now, but because I know they're arguably your favorite pop punk band. But I feel it's so funny because I feel they went through a period of when their songwriting changed when they were at the height of their career.
Sure.
And then now with not their new album, but their newest album that came out a while back, they still had songs on there that were kind of representative of when they were younger.
Yeah, you're right.
And for the old school fans, it works, but I don't know, I just never felt it meshed well as a 40-year-old, as they're I guess in their late 40s or 45 years old, I guess.
They're not as young as they were.
Yeah, that's pretty much the case, because I know Mark Hoppus was talking about he was being interviewed and someone asked him about some of the older songs, the shit, piss, cock, motherfucker, that song. And he
Right.
was like saying like, yeah, I don't really want to perform that anymore. I have kids. Like, I do not want to look like that.
Yeah, that's not a song you want your children to hear, I guess.
But it's so strange to me too, because it's like, does he like regret writing it? Like, does he like? Because he has to like understand like that song, like despite its like structure, it's pretty like influential. It's actually a really well written song too.
Yeah.
Because like, is there like a reason you retired Megyn Kelly, or was it just like you don't want to play it anymore?
Yeah.
Couple reasons.
Couple reasons, namely one of which, you know, like it had a lot. The song like was written at a specific time, and then kind of Fox News went through all these changes, none of which have like a lot of the same anchors anymore. So it's like it's kind of outdated in that regard. And then stylistically, man, like people would chant it at our shows and like sing it and stuff if they knew it, but like and everybody knows us for that song, you know, but I guess we wanted to kind of say, hey, if we're going to take this thing in a new direction, we kind of need to like put this one on a shelf and still look at it every once in a while and say, hey man, that was a fun song that we did, but you know, it's time to kind of.
It's one of those songs too that like I listen to, and it's like, oh, like I honestly like I listen to that song like working out, I'm like walking to class or like walking wherever, and it's like a fun like carefree song. Do you think like do you think people take it too seriously at times, or is it been mostly like that? Like it's just like this is a fun song, like enjoy yourself.
Well, I mean, so Drew wrote it as like a satirical love song. Like clearly he's not gonna
like that's how he got it.
Megyn Kelly, but so many people, like even the other day, a guy got really mad at me when he found out we had a song from 2 years ago about a news anchor who didn't agree with him politically, and he was like making fun of me for it. And I was like, hey man, like it's a fun love song. Like there's definitely not anything that we're making claims about with that song. So
yeah, that's not a hill I want to die on, you know what I mean? Like I don't, it's just a fun song in general, and it was inspired because
it really is,
you know.
And to me, like it's not worth the fight of that. And so like Drew said, it's not something we want to go down swinging on. Like politics are important, but not enough to ruin relationships over. So to me, the reason why we wanted to cut it was like, hey, we want to build relationships with people, and if that's a song that's gonna make one person not listen to the rest of our music, then I mean,
that's on them.
It's just not something that I want to let ruin a relationship. So personally,
I get that.
I don't think you should retire it though. I mean, like for me, like maybe I have a bias because I love that song.
Right.
But it's like it's pop punk. Like there are things like in pop punk that are, whether it's political or like not political, or whether it's in pop too. It's just like, because the point of music is to have fun with it, not to like think and overanalyze it. I mean, yeah, there is music that you can do that to and still enjoy, but at the core of it all, it's just more to me of like, what does it sound like? Like, do I enjoy the singer? Do I enjoy this lyrically? And I don't know, that's just my bias on it. That's my 2 cents.
No, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Honestly, I do. It really means a lot. I think I just think that kind of with where our catalog of songs are now, that it kind of has a hard time fitting in with the rest of them. Not that you can't have like a different sound yet, but you know. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, for sure. So with this transition from pop punk to synth pop, do you think you in the future would combine those two, or do you think you would go on to another genre from there?
Honestly, man, that's a good question. I think we're just up in the air. We're just gonna literally go where the music takes us, and however that looks.
We're just doing us, man. We're trying to find our own sound, man.
Yeah, I think that's like a lot of it too, because like the same thing. Like I know I keep going back to bands, but like I can't, like every single answer you give me, I always think of like different bands. Like, oh yeah, but like the Beastie Boys is like one of those like groups that like they they started off as a punk band, right? Like a hardcore punk band first.
I think I had heard that. I can't remember.
Yeah. So they basically started off this hardcore punk band, like performing with all these other famous bands as well, like and they went through the whole punk scene, and then they were like, we don't want to do this anymore. We're gonna try rap as a joke and see if it works, and they did, and then they got in contact with Rick Rubin, and then they became the Beastie Boys after that.
That's
So
crazy.
you never know. Yeah, there's some crazy stories like that.
That's kind of how it
Yeah.
happened with that song "Work in Progress" or whatever. We
Yeah, because that was the first one I heard. That was like a total musical shift.
Yeah, dude, no, for real. And it was Dylan's idea. He was like, dude, can you rap? And I was like, I don't know. He was like, why don't you try and write a rap for this section? And I was like, I mean, I'll give it a try, but we'll see what happens. And I literally pulled it out in like 30 minutes and then was up and recording with it. And it turned out a lot of people, you know, may or may not like that part, but to me, it kind of makes the song a little bit different. Like it's unexpected. And every time we do it live, people are like, they're vibing, and then that drops and they're like, what just happened? You know what I mean?
That's what it was like when I saw Ed Sheeran live with my girlfriend. Because like I listened to some of his music, but he's actually like, if he wanted to like rap on like with the guitar, he could do that for a whole album. It would still be as successful as his music is. Because he's like that like good. It's insane. Like, because I play guitar too, and I know like how hard it is to like just be rhythmically on time with lyrics and singing and vocals. But for him to do that, it was like, what? You can do that? Okay, we're doing this. Like I'm vibing. It's a throw off, like for you to do it, but it's a successful throw off, I think.
Well, cool. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well, just a little plug. It might come up again in some future releases.
Uh-oh.
You never know. So
Ready for it.
like it or hate it, we're doing it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like we're out of time right now. So my last question is, what is going on in the future, and what secrets do you have to reveal? So for every end of the podcast, it's what's going on in the future, and what secret do you have to reveal about yourself?
Oh man, that's good.
So
take it.
some future stuff's coming. There's some cool stuff coming. We're in the planning process for some of the things. Some things we're already almost done recording, and a lot of credit to our producer Ryan Wilson at Hey Hey Studios, because we've been working hard with him and he's been working hard with us, and it's just, I don't want to give away too much, but there's cool vibes coming with some future releases.
It's a banger.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I don't know. That's pretty much all I know what to say. It's a banger.
And
it's cool.
And it's a secret about yourself? If you don't want to answer, that's fine.
Oh, like secret about like personally?
Like literally anything. Like
that's tough, man. That's tricky. Ooh.
What can I say that's not like too personal?
I'm trying to think. Secrets. So what do you guys got?
I mean, do you have a middle name? I mean, like, I don't know that.
Do you have a middle name? Well, how about this? I have two middle names.
Okay.
Yeah, so my name is Christopher Kalen Van Spears.
I like that.
That is an awesome name.
Appreciate it.
It's like if you show up to a job with that, they'll be like hired.
I wish that's how it worked, man. I'd be making a lot more money.
Like my name's Ivan Oscar Lichtenstein, so like me and you be on the same page.
Whoa.
That's dope. That's fresh.
Mine's not really like a secret, but just like a fun, not fun, very awkward thing. Was couple weeks ago, was going on a date, and as soon as I picked up the female, I hit a deer with my truck, and
well, the deer hit you.
The deer hit me, and so my poor truck had a very hard time. The deer did not make it, and
oh no.
It worked out. The rest of the date went fine, but it's very hard to come back from hitting a deer, murdering a deer with your vehicle with a beautiful girl in your passenger seat. So that's my little secret fun fact, I guess.
It's kind of hard to make small talk then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You're through all the awkward small talk at that point. So
yeah, things get real. I don't know, man. I think, yeah, just as far as future stuff, Cardiac Half things are looking good with new music coming out. But secret for you, I gained a pound over the past 6 months.
Oh,
Dude, this guy's weighed like
Ready to
130 since high school. Don't let him
No.
lie.
So last year I sit at a desk basically, all right, for my job, my real job that makes money and pays the bills. Anyway, I lost a pound doing that. I don't know how you do that sitting at a desk, but somehow I did. And now I gained it back. So things are looking up. That's my secret.
Things are looking up.
Yeah.
it's ebbed and flowed.
Yeah. I'm on the
Upswing.
yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And Chris, oh yeah, you said your two middle names.
Caden Vane.
Yeah. All right. Well, that is it. So that's been the With, Where, and Who podcast with Cardiac Half. Thank you guys so much for joining me.
Hey man,
Sure.
thanks for
Thanks
having
for
us.
having
on,
Thank you,
man.
Ivan.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So they have their next show at this old bar, January 27th. And at what time is it?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. January 27th at this old bar. And yeah, that's the With, Where, and Who podcast. Thank you all so much for watching.
Peace.